Well, hey, welcome back to Kings Road Young Lions. I'll be your DM for this evening. My name is Saucey, and I'm here with four very fine role players. Normally there's five, but tonight we're missing one. We've got Rosa, Gator, Bronson, Solomon. We're missing Zinthral, but we're going to press on anyway. Say hello, Young Lions.
Hello, Young Lions.
Greetings.
Tonight we have a special feature. We're going to do things a little bit differently, but I think you're really going to enjoy it. And the players really have no idea what to expect either. So I'll give you a little summary of how things are going to go. Everybody was given the challenge of running a solo role play where their character goes through 8 weeks in-game, starting from the end of last session, which was the wrestling matches at the Rotten Funk Farms, and at the end of this 8 weeks, we get to Grapple Mania, where Bronson and Zinthral have their matches. It's the debut match of Bronson, and it is the official badge match for Zinthral. Beyond that, everybody was given complete freedom to do whatever they wanted with their character, and boy did they come up with some wild ideas. So we're going to start right here with Zinthral. Since he's not here, this is going to be a little bit of audience participation. We've got some bullet points here, but you guys can fill in the blanks for me. The best way to tell the story of Zinthral is really to start back at the beginning. And in the very beginning, Zinthral was this wide-eyed, naive, athletic young kid wearing a mask. I'm pretty sure he was wearing a mask when we met him. But he approached the party inside a wrestling bar called the Ringrust Cafe, or the Ringrust Cantina. He approaches the party, which looked a little bit different back then, but Bronson and Gator were mainstays at the time. He was offering free shots, which I believe everybody accepted, correct? Pretty sure everybody was happy to accept some of his toilet hooch that he was making at the time. But Zinthral went on to compete in a wrestling match and gain the attention and appreciation of everybody in the bar, specifically Gator and Bronson. This is when the entire format of the Kings Road tournament was revealed. That any challenger who could go to all 7 gyms in the 7 different territories and win the badge of each territory could challenge inside the Iron Masters tournament at the end of the year. Normally there's only one winner of that tournament. This year, 2 winners. And although Zinthral started out as the contender, Bronson, you soon found a way to stamp your own ticket as well. Mm-hmm. Zinthral was introduced by how do we describe him? A mentor of sorts, Harmon Stonefist, who was responsible for raising Zinthral after his parents had passed away. Harmon took over the responsibilities of training him, being a father figure, mentor, yada, yada, yada. And as soon as he meets Gator and Bronson, he pushes Zinthral off on them and says, he's yours now, take him, the sky's the limit, I've done all that I can do with him. And that's how you inherited Zinthral. Harmon Stonefist has proven to be a little two-faced in that endeavor, and Zinthral, I'm curious to see what Zinthral's opinion is of Harmon at this time. We've heard that Harmon may be responsible for imprisoning Zinthral's father, among other things, and rumor has it that he's been coaching another set of challengers on the King's Road as well. So
you don't put your eggs in one basket, right?
Well,
if I remember Zinthral's words correctly, I'm gonna kill him. If anybody was wondering how he feels.
Yep.
It sounds like Zinthral. While he is impulsive and acts before he thinks, he is not entirely unlikable, right? He seems to make friends pretty easily. He made friends with Kyle the Dragonborn inside the fighting pits of Lucha Lucha Town. He made friends with Gator and Bronson inside a wrestling bar. He made friends with a pimp named Ambrose.
Friends.
And he made friends with a giant dandelion creature at the bottom of a lush cave. That was the point in which Zinthral snapped his leg pretty horribly at the time. Although with the assistance of the party's healers and a couple cans of whoop-ass and some divine intervention, that leg seemed to heal up just fine because Zinthral was able... It's shocking just how well he's performed in every one of these challenges. Because he probably shouldn't. But in Lucha Lucha Town, he just performed amazing. When he went to Colville in the Slap Mountain Challenge, he just performed amazing. When he went to Ironvale inside the Brawl in the Box, he did super, super well. And now in Timber Clash, with the assistance of Solomon, he's not only caught the attention of the executives at Grapplemania, but he's got a crowd following already who respect his athleticism, although they may still question his decision-making skills. And that leads us to where we are now. After Fight Night on the farm is over, we have Zinthral, who is on a gravy train with biscuit wheels, right? And the only information he was given is go back to Timber Clash, speak with the head booker of Grapplemania, and he will tell you what to expect in your next match. So that's what he did. So over the course of the next week, he goes to the DNDCW arena and he meets with the head booker, a man by the name of Dane Caruso, who is called Russo by most people. He's scummy. He's a carny piece of crap. He has terrible creative ideas. He alienates talent. He's known for overcomplicating the booking and for doing things that just make no sense for the business. But
and not accepting responsibility.
Oh, of course not. No. He never accepts responsibility. Everything is somebody else's fault. He also has a severe rivalry with Jen Coronado, who is the booker at Fight Night. They really dislike each other. However, he's a man who has been given a job by Vance McDragon, who's the owner, operator, CEO, and gym leader of Timber Clash. And the job is put on a good show, keep the money rolling in. And Zinthral, this fiery new talent who's just captured the hearts and minds of Timber Clash, has just stepped up to his front door, just full of potential. So the idea is turn Zinthral into the man of many masks, right? He's got a cursed mask that was given to him from Lady Potentia in Lucha Lucha Town. That mask, I believe that Rosa may have done an exorcism to remove the curse effects of wearing that mask, which was pretty gnarly. Didn't know that Rosa had it in her to do that. But the mask still remains cursed. In addition to that, he's got this ogre mask. I'm sorry, that is incredibly insensitive of me. It is a half-orc imposter mask that was taken from a member of the Hard Way. And now he's got a brand new mask. A mask given to him by Dane Caruso, and it is a mask of mimicry. It is a black mask with raven feathers on it that allow him to copy the movements of an opponent. So wearing that mask and under this new persona. He still calls himself just Zinthral, in quotations, the man of many masks. He's able to get booked in some matches on Grapplemania, but he just gets booked for loss after loss after loss. Would any of you have been attending those matches during that time?
I like to think I was commentating on some of those matches.
Yeah, same. Well, not
Gator
commentating.
probably
but,
had
you know.
time. So, yeah, Gator.
Okay.
Bronson's Audi 5000.
Yeah, so Bronson, no. Everybody else would be around. Okay, so Zinthral works consistently, and surprisingly, he is incredibly agreeable. He takes orders, listens to not only the bookers, but the veterans of the company. And he's really trying to be a legit contender, and you can tell that he's absorbing everything that he's being taught. More specifically, he learns a new technique from a friend that you met on the road, on what do we call it? Bear Road? Bear
Road.
Street? The road filled with cocaine bears? A man by the name of Jax had offered to teach you an aerial maneuver, his ultimate technique. Zinthral took him up on that offer, and Zinthral learns an aerial assault, something called the Black Arrow, which is a bit of a corkscrew, front flip, 450 splash. It's something that he was able to master within a couple days, and he's been using it inside the ring to great applause. It's also something that he plans to employ during some of your less reputable fights. So stay tuned for more of that later. Within a couple weeks, Zinthral gets booked to win his first match. And while all these matches are prearranged, they are scripted, it's still a big turning point for him, right? So it means that he's paid his dues and they're ready to start investing juice into this guy. He's starting to get the push. So the success goes to his head a little bit. Surprise, surprise. And Zinthral decides he's going to start pulling double duty. He's been a hero in the ring, playing this face character and doing all the right things. Well, he starts to take that persona out of the ring as well. And Zinthral starts moonlighting as a vigilante.
Oh no.
So he's somehow gotten involved with the Hearth Foundation in Timberclash, a small sect of that rebellious group. And wearing the Raven's mask, he's able to mimic the mannerisms and the style of his targets around the city. He is specifically targeting members of the elite who are responsible for the King's Road structure, something that he's always vowed to bring down, although he's never really known how to be useful to the cause. So his first major act is to set fire to one of the ships in the harbor. So one of the ships returning from the capital city after an important event is set in the harbor, and it miraculously catches fire, which the contents of that ship end up at the bottom of the harbor. On another night, a corrupt city official by the name of Matteo Lariatitis ends up dead in an alley with no explanation. Not many people are sad to see him go, but Zinthral knows the truth behind it, and he's starting to really warm up to the idea of being a weapon of justice, right? The Hearth Foundation decides that they're going to help Zinthral with his quest to obtain his badge. They offer him a scroll which has one use of the charm spell. Zinthral uses that charm spell on Russo and gets booked in a match for his badge. Some say that it may be a little premature. Although he was winning matches, he was growing impatient. But upon finding out that Bronson was going to debut at Grapplemania, Zinth said, I want to be in the main event. This is when I want my badge. It makes the most sense for the Young Lions. And he wants to do it for Bronson. As a tribute to Bronson. He wants to show that he's buried the axe. He wants to put over Bronson on the same night that his star is the brightest. And in that match, Zinth shines. He hits the black arrow maneuver as well as that flipping foot stomp that he does, or the flipping curb stomp, or whatever you want to call it. He does win that match against a charismatic wrestler, a crowd favorite, a man known as an eternal optimist. He goes by the moniker the Half Dragon. His name is Daniel Danielson, and he is maybe one of the most skilled technical wrestlers that have ever walked through the doors of Grapplemania, and Zinthral wins that night. It's a huge moment, celebrated by everybody, and even each one of you you're happy to see the kids succeed, right? It's uncanny. It shouldn't look as easy when he does it. It shouldn't work out, but things just work out for the kid. His special power must be luck, right? So Zinthral heads backstage. He celebrates with the Young Lions and the rest of the locker room, some of which aren't quite as happy to see his success, but many of them are on their own quests. Some of them take inspiration from his meteoric rise, and some just ignore it altogether. And at that point, Zinthral leaves the arena with the intention of fully supporting Bronson in his quest for his fourth badge on the King's Road. So Zinthral's total payout for those 8 weeks is 600 gold pieces, and he picks up this magical item, this Mask of Mimicry. So he is well on his way of the King's Road. And now we're going to shift over to the story of Rosa. Rosa, you ready for this?
I'm all set.
Okay, well let's rewind. Let's go back to the beginning, because Rosa wasn't always a member of the Young Lions. She was a member of the Risky Rabbit crew. And before that, she was a clergy person for the what do we call it? The church, the Temple of Moradin. Is that right?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Temple of Moradin.
So Rosa took on this role in the Risky Rabbit, wanting to help people. And after the badge fight in Lucha Lucha Town, Rosa is employed by Mistress Wolf of the Risky Rabbit, who offers Rosa's services as part of the sponsorship to the Young Lions, specifically to Bronson and Zinthral, but to the party as a whole. And Rosa, you were happy to join in, but in less than a day after that, it was really only a few hours after joining the party, that the party engaged in an inferno match, if you will, on the docks against the Hardway Gang. And what was Rosa thinking at this point? She joins this group. Immediately, they are attacked. People are trying to kill them. They kidnap a giant person by the name of Nyx. You steal a pirate ship, go out into the middle of the ocean, and then off the guy. Rosa had to be questioning that decision at that point.
Yep, I sure as heck didn't off the guy. Mostly had to fight with certain people on this crew that I will not name. I'm looking at you.
It was Bronson.
Thank you, Gator. But absolutely wild.
I believe it was Bronson, Zinth, and Solomon at that point.
I was like, 1000% Solomon was pushing the gas pedal down on the kill that guy bus.
Rosa's always looked out for the sick, the injured, the unfortunate, those in need, and you've managed to make friends with some of these types of folks. Kira of the Risky Rabbit in Lucha Town, somebody who you bonded with for a long time and you fear you may never see again. And then also in Colville, you met a lady of the night by the name of Thumper, who went on to later tell you that her actual name is Mary, somebody who was injured and you helped bring back and restore back to full health. All of the sick people in Colville, you helped cleanse the well with the assistance of Solomon and Gator and other magic users in town. And together, your combined efforts and magical energies healed this entire town. So all along, Rosa has been on the side of trying to help people and trying to show those who would take a more destructive path that there may be other ways to accomplish the same thing.
And I'm sure they love it.
A great example of that is going to Ironvale, where Bronson meets the new husband of his old fling. And Bronson wants a reason to kill the guy. He will just completely obliterate this guy by the name of Bannon. But Rosa, you took the time to hear Bannon out, right? A man of faith, just like yourself. And you got to know his soul in that process. Had you taken a different approach there, had you given Bronson a reason to go after him, Bannon would not be making those delicious booty oats that you can find all over the world at this point, right? The famous granola manufacturer, Bannon, and his lesser-known wife, Alicine, who is working diligently behind the scenes on the recipes. You went on to heal people on the ship, right? On the way to Timberclash, one of the crew members fell ill with the slamdemic. That was Gus, if I remember correctly, who is clearly the best crew member. Everybody loves Gus. And Gus things were not looking good for Gus. He had an unknown illness, and Rosa, you did everything that you could to cure him of this terminal illness. Not only that, but probably saving the entire ship, who would have contracted this mystery disease from him should things escalate. But through some troubleshooting and creative thinking and some magical experiments, you were able to heal Gus. And
along with Zinthral, give credit where credit's due. He used some monk healing hands on him.
Yes, that is true. Zinthral is the only person I've ever met that can heal you by punching you. But he's found a way to get it done. So now here we are in Timberclash, and Rosa has continued her healing ways, picking up a role as medical staff for Grapplemania. Thanks to Solomon and his magnificent selling skills, found a way to get everybody a job. But Rosa, specifically for you, you go to Fight Night out on Rotten Funk Farms, and where most people might defend their friends and let everybody suffer, you found a way to heal probably the most belligerent person backstage, a just damaged individual by the name of Red Eye Black. Quite a wrestler and a talent she is, but just somebody who has a really thick skin, somebody who puts up walls, and in the process, you may have made a friend. So that brings us to where we are now, and not knowing how long it'll take your friends Zinthral and Bronson to win a badge, you've decided to do a little research of your own inside of town, knowing that you've got some time. You start asking around, you go to the town mortician, you go to the town hospital, and you start investigating the slamdemic. You're looking for more information. And what you hear is mostly rumors. That the town mortician has stated that people in Timberclash are not dying of the disease. They're dying of a lot of other things, mostly violence. Some from drug and alcohol use, others from bear attacks, but not from the slamdemic. However, the rumors that you've been hearing through travelers is quite disturbing. Not only that the slamdemic is serious, that people are dying, but that some of them, upon contracting the disease, are turning into terrible things. These are ghost stories at this point, and you take a lot of it with a grain of salt. A lot of the people who tell you these stories are not the brightest crayons in the box. They're also not folks who are completely sober. So you've cobbled together this story of what you think the truth actually is, and you decided that you should probably hear the information from a more trusted source. And that's when you reach out to somebody who you connected with in the past. And why don't you tell everybody who that is and how you reached out to them?
So I wanted to kind of check in on our efforts from Colville, correct?
Yes.
Or was it Ironvale? Okay, Colville. So I sent a letter out to Mother Isolde. If everybody remembers, Gator and Solomon and myself and her and other magic users helped purify the well. I was curious if, one, the well was still, good to go and purified, and just to kind of find out some news from her, just kind of what's been going on in the town since then, because people were really sick over there, until we at least helped with the well, so.
And she's confirmed your question. So through the post, she's able to return the letter that you sent to her with news about Colville, stating that she has maintained the purity of the well since the time that you left. As part of her weekly practice, as part of those weekly services, she and the magic users of town perform the same ceremony, the circle of magic, around the well, using the power of the magicite stones to cleanse the waters. And it appears to have been working for quite some time. So things in Colville have been great. The invaders who were coming down from the mountains, they have brokered a peace deal with the town where they're able to exchange goods for services, and things have improved on that front as well. So located far away from the oversight of the capital city, Colville seems to be doing really well. However, Mother Isolde hears stories just the same as you hear the stories in Timberclash about people who have been to other territories where things are not going as well. Specifically, she runs into a young woman who says that she had escaped from a cult, and she tells her story. She tells a story about how her parents brought her into this commune of people who wanted religious freedom. And over time, her parents became completely brainwashed, right? Things started really well at first, drum circles at night, summer of love type situation. But her parents just drank more and more of the Kool-Aid, and they started focusing more on the words and actions of the cult leaders rather than their own daughter. Over time, this young girl who Mother Isolde did not reveal the identity of, she started to fear for her life, and upon discovering that the commune, or the cult if you will, is practicing in the dark arts, she decided that she had to find a way out. She never actually saw them practicing necromancy or summoning creatures from the abyss, but she's sure of it. She was sure enough to escape and find her way to Colville. That cult goes by the name the Darker Order. Something that started in the hills between Colville and Timberclash has now spread into other towns, including spreading into the capital city. Mother Isolde wishes you well and offers you blessings and asks that you follow up with her in the coming months to let her know that you're okay, promising to share with you any new information she happens to find out. So, Rosa, you begin getting concerned that it's the magicite that's causing these illnesses. You believe the magicite is poisoning people. It's causing the disease, and maybe worse. So, where do you go to further pursue information on magicite and the possibility that it's poisoning people?
Well, I know that at some point I'll touch base with, an apothecary or perhaps an alchemist or something like that. I'd also like to look through, if there's any sort of way to look up history or anything that might mention something in the past about, say, the Slamdemic or the Dark Order.
Sure. Through investigation, you're able to meet with the young woman in town who works at the general store. That's the Lawful Goodwill general store.
Yes.
She's the one that had given you the information about the local mines, what type of animals and plant life that are in the area. She's also able to obtain a history book about the region. And in your studies, you're not able to find any mention of the Slamdemic or anything like that. This appears to be a new phenomenon. She also turns you on to a book of potions, of homebrews, of local medicinal home remedies. And the combination of that knowledge and meeting with the town alchemist, you're able to become quite the brewer in a pretty short time. So the town alchemist, who is also a fellow halfling, is happy to take you in as an apprentice and to teach you the ways, because there just aren't many halflings around in these types of towns where everything is driven by violence. So through this practice, you become specialized and really it's through a process of try, fail. You learn how to brew 3 new potions. And what are the names of those potions?
My brain just forgot them. So I have learned how to brew moon brine, which is a healing potion, witch spoil, which is a poison, and demon balm, which I think might be of great use in the ring for maybe some theatrics, or if I need a little bit of fire.
That's not what everybody wants to use it for. This demon balm is a highly flammable bomb that burns for how long? For 10 hours straight?
So these were for an hour, but if I tweak it just a little bit with some mint or some mayonnaise, it'll reduce the duration time down to a minute.
Okay, so for an hour, I can imagine at some point Bronson or Zinthral just smearing the words "Young Lions" out in front of the Hardway clubhouse and just setting it on fire. That seems very appropriate for that's pretty par for the course with this group.
What have I done?
Right? So you start to gain a bit of a reputation around town, specifically from some of the wrestlers who you've been helping at the Rotten Funk Farms and at Grapple Mania as well. You've been working consistently through the weeks. Some rumors start to spread around town, and you can only determine that it started with Quick Switch and his group that so hurriedly rushed him away from your medical treatment. They start accusing you of spreading medical misinformation around town, and they start just questioning your reputation. And at a certain point, Jin Coronado says, "Look, the crowd is turning on you here. You're pretty noticeable. There aren't many halflings around here. I think it's best if we go our separate ways. We wish you the best in your future endeavors. However, one man's loss is another man's gain, and you go from fight night over full-time medical staff at Grapple Mania. Dane Caruso is more than happy to take you on. As soon as he finds out that Jin Coronado had let you go, Dane Caruso is like, I cannot wait to have you working under our roof." So that's what you do. You go there, you give it a bit of a pay increase in the process, and
He's got to call her bro all the time.
you
Swear
did.
to God, bro, you're the best doctor we've ever had, bro.
Why can't I be Rosa?
Oh, that's not bad. However, your reputation is tarnished, right? And you are reeling from that. So you try to seek solace in a friend. You start asking around about, where can I find Red Eye Black? Right? Red Eye had offered you to, come out sometime and we'll trade some stories. So that's exactly what happens. You end up meeting up for drinks, and you get a little too drunk for your own good. Doesn't take much for Rosa. The rest of the guys will never see it, so it's no big deal. But Red Eye is fiercely protective of you. And instead of just letting you walk home on your own, she escorts you all the way back to the docks, boards the ship, puts you in bed, and threatens the rest of the Celtigars not to touch you in any way, or she will drag them to hell.
And she totally will.
So you realize the next morning, after the foggy memories come back to you, that you may have made a genuine friend, one that is protective of you. There aren't many others that you've healed in the past that have had a whole lot to offer in return, but she does. And you realize a lot of those things, but what you don't realize is that Red has been showing some symptoms and has a pretty nasty cough as she's walking away from the docks. she's still in her own quest to obtain her King's Road badges. Hopefully she can shake this nasty cough that she has. So Rosa, you're going to get paid a total of 300 gold pieces for your services, minus expenses and whatnot. Plus, you're going to add one of each of those potions to your inventory.
Okay.
And you'll have the ability, if you can collect materials, to brew additional potions, which can be used, stockpiled, sold. There is one caveat. One of those potions has an ingredient called moonberry.
Okay.
And moonberry, when exposed to moonlight, has a habit of exploding.
Yeah, I saw that.
So you're going to want to be careful about how you use that.
Make another note there. All right.
Okay. That brings us to the story of Solomon's Scribbles. Now, Solomon, you also were not a Young Lion original. Solomon joined the party after the first confrontation with the Hardway gang. This was out in Lucha Lucha Town. And after Silvario had cut a scathing promo that Bronson was completely uninterested in, there's Solomon Scribbles shows up and says, I think you could use my services. That's my impression of Solomon. And boy, were you right about that. Solomon, the man of multiple personas, has been nothing but supportive, and has been a friend to the party, has been invaluable to everything the Young Lions have been trying to do all along. It's hard to say with a straight face that Zinthral and Bronson would have been as successful without Solomon there behind the scenes making things happen. And that tradition has continued through Colville, where Solomon helped cleanse the well, and through Iron Vale, where Solomon made connections with the Hearth Foundation, and has made connections with the Gnome Depot. Your knowledge and your connections around the world have saved the party from lots of trouble, right? As the only member of the party who has been on the King's Road before and has groomed these young challengers to be successful, Solomon's guidance has been just an amazing asset to everything the party has done. With one small exception, Solomon, through his own magical prowess, at a certain point did not fully understand just how powerful the power of suggestion could be, and had Ambrose, one of the managers of the Risky Rabbit, had him walk until he saw the ocean. Unfortunately, the ocean was hundreds of miles away, so Ambrose was not happy about that, and it cost the party it cost them a sponsorship from the Risky Rabbit. Although, in your defense, Mistress Wolf had her hands tied and certainly left the door open to rekindle that relationship. There was a fear that Rosa would leave the party when being forced to choose between the Risky Rabbit or the Young Lions, but Rosa doubled down on the mission and the quest, and she's all in now. She's all in on the Young Lions. And Solomon, although you took that extremely personally, you definitely made up for it in Timber Clash, when single-handedly the entire Young Lions crew was given jobs with Grapple Mania and with Fight Night, just based on your performance, your enthralling presence, and your influence really has opened doors where they may not have otherwise been open. So, in the process, you've also learned that you have quite a skill as a color commentator for combat. Although Solomon himself doesn't know much about combat and almost nothing about pro wrestling or fake wrestling or whatever you want to call it, catch wrestling. The ability that Solomon has to improvise is unequaled. And he just seems to have chemistry with everybody that he speaks to. That was fully on display at Fight Night at Rotten Funk Farms. And after a quick payday, Solomon goes back to town. So, if we were to take a poll from everybody, what does Solomon do after such a rousing success and seeing Zinthral's career take off? What happens next for Solomon? None of you would have guessed correctly. Because what Solomon does...
The hard way?
What Solomon does is he immerses himself in his alternate persona of Cousin Roman. And he sets his eyes on the hard way.
I knew it.
So it takes a few days for Cousin Roman to put together his costume and to put together this look. You know, he probably I don't know if Solomon can actually grow a beard, but he stopped shaving, right? And
No, I have a very convincing mustache that I apply to my face with semi-permanent glue.
Okay. Well, he does have an impressive facial hair collection, right? But, you know, he's like that undercover cop who's been undercover for about 2 weeks, right? Just not convincing enough. But he's a man of mystery. He is a man of many looks. And you decide to set your targets on one member of the Hard Way. The only known that is in the Hard Way, a man by the name of Jazzy Jake. And so, Cousin Roman decides he's going to make friends with Jazzy Jake. So how does that get done?
Well, it starts out by everybody's favorite Cousin Roman. I stalk him from the shadows for a while. Just make sure that I lock in a target. I got him on lock. At first, I consider maybe I just take this guy out and I return to the hard ways, Jazzy Jake. But, you know, there's a lot more risks involved there. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna ingratiate myself upon him. Because he's popular in the lower level, but hardway guys like him. But he also kind of runs his mouth around town. It's only a matter of time until somebody catches him by himself. And eventually it does. And I know that this is my opportunity, but I let these, 6 guys who jump him really kick the crap out of him for a while until he's, almost completely done. And that's when I jump in and I take them all out. I save his life. Then he owes me.
You know, and you become fast friends with Jazzy Jake. He invites you to come party at the clubhouse. And so it's Jazzy Jake and Cousin Roman spending some time at the Hardway Clubhouse, which goes under the name The Gusher. And Cousin Roman is the life of the party, right? You have an unlimited number of fake stories that you love to tell. You are the life of the party, right? You claim and at certain points you start to bolster your reputation a little bit. You start claiming responsibility for some high crimes that you know for a fact are not connected to the hard way. And then you start doing some favors for the gang as well. Now, keep in mind that in your off time, you're still doing color commentary at Fight Night for Grapple Mania. So you're living this double life.
It's exhausting, but it's worth it.
Yeah, that's right. So you're doing these favors, and eventually you get cut in on a heist. There is somebody from the capital who has quite a bit of coinage on them. They've returned from the capital after a major event. And that event, which we talked about earlier, is the match between Capital D, Hardway founder, and Alfarius Cone, the Exalted One, for the World Championship. And Capital D, who's been promising a win, and who has been just the North Star for the Hardway gang, has the match against Alfarius Cone and loses again. So that's when the Hardway decides they got nothing to lose at this point, and they start going after the capital. So there's a ship in the harbor. You decide you're going to go rob the ship. And that gets done, and a little bit later on, that ship burns and sinks to the bottom of the harbor. Happy little accident. Was it the Hardway? Was it somebody else? Who's to say, right? And at that point, the Hardway gang starts recruiting Cousin Roman. You should pledge. Roman, you should pledge. And what does Roman say?
I mean, guys, you know, I love your style. You're great. I almost messed up the voice I was doing. We get along so great. We have such a great time, and we work well together. You know, it'd be too much. It'd be too much. Like, I don't know.
So is I don't know a yes, or is I don't know a no?
I don't know is Cousin Roman playing hard to get and stringing them out for as long as I feel like is peak effective.
Yeah, so Cousin Roman has their attention at this point, and he's profited a little bit off of some of these doings, but he decides to take it up to another level. Not only is he going to work undercover inside the Hardway gang, but he's also going to play them against the Darker Order. So Cousin Roman disguises himself as a member of the Dark Order and arranges an attack on a Hardway member. It's a guerrilla warfare style, right? And then he sticks around long enough for them to see the costume and for them to clearly know that this is the work of the Darker Order. And then Roman vanishes like a fart in the wind.
Vanishes right back to the Gusher, where I'm rallying up the war cry that they came for us and we gotta go for them.
That's right. And at this point, Cousin Roman catches the attention of one of the ranking members of the Hardway in Timber Clash. This is a gigantic mountain of a man, a man by the name of Rico Ishii. A lot of people just call him Rico, but he is a more... I don't know what word to use that's greater than morbidly obese, but he is gargantuanly obese. Always wears wraparound sunglasses. He sweats when he eats, but he's still a heck of a dancer. And he's...
You know what? Cousin Roman loves this guy.
He does love this guy, and this guy loves you too. What Rico is known for most is going to people who are passed out at parties and giving them the old stink face, if you know what I mean. That's the old, the old cake in the face.
Yeah.
Classic party trick, right? So now with this ranking member of the Hardway backing you, Cousin Roman is offered again. We need you to prospect for the Hardway. We need you. And what does Cousin Roman say?
Yeah. You know what? When I came to this town, just a wanderer looking for thrills that chill, I didn't think that I'd find myself amongst such amazing company. Now the walls are closing in. We gotta stick together. I'm in.
Did we lose you?
Oh, did you lose me?
No, okay.
I'm in.
Yeah, okay, yay! Woohoo! So Rico does his big sexy dance, puts the shades on, shuffles to the right, shuffles to the left, gives the old hip wiggle, and it's
I
all...
throw some spells, I make everybody dance along to it. We're choreographed now.
That's
we all
right.
do the same dance behind him in unison.
Everybody is cool and sexy tonight. However, shortly afterwards, maybe in the days afterwards, Rico confides in you a bit of information that was also gained from Hardway members returning from the capital after that World Championship fight. And this...
You're welcome.
This bit of information he tells you is that although it was truly heartbreaking to see Capital T lose again for the third or fourth time he's lost this World Championship match to Alfarius Cone, what hurts even more and what is lighting a fire under them is knowing that Alfarius Cone, who has been undefeated for 3 to 4 years, is now donning a black cloak with purple trim. The colors that you know, the colors of the Darker Order. So Solomon, during that time, you're going to obtain 400 gold pieces and a bag of gems, which have not been appraised as of yet.
Can I try to appraise it? Just eyeball it?
You can. Let's put a pin in that. We'll save that for next time. There are assorted gems. This is part of the loot taken from the ship from the capital. So that's going to bring us over to another shipmaster, Gator Gary Golden. There we go.
Petition to just rename Gator the moniker.
Triple G.
No. Yes.
Okay, so Gator is a Young Lion original. Goes back to that meeting inside the bar. Even beyond that, Gator and Bronson just meeting up inside a bar, and some nasties about to beat up the young wizard Gator. Maybe not young, maybe middle-aged, moderately aged. Gary Golden being attacked unprovoked by these just nasty folks inside a bar. And who comes to his rescue? Bronson is right there. Not because he knows Gator, because Gator seems like a nice guy, but it's just not a fair fight. And that's something that Bronson just won't stand for. It's part of his moral compass. So from that point, Gator and Bronson have been inseparable. Usually it's Gator following behind Bronson as people get out of Bronson's way, but those are just details, right? Gator has been supportive of everything that the Young Lions have done along the way, including the antics of young Zinthral on the King's Road. Gator has been there providing support and flair, special effects, and just has made life taste a little bit better along the way. He's also got a way with words, cutting some of the best promos that you'll hear this side of the Capitol. And it's not gone without notice. Gator inexplicably gains the attention of ladies everywhere he goes. It started in Lucha Town with Rocky Rose. You know, she had her eye on Gator. She gave him some pot brownies that turned his world inside out. And she said, I will see you again in the future when I'm on the King's Road. Then Gator navigates a stolen pirate ship through a hurricane and through a Kraken battle to the city of Colville, where another young lady is stricken by him. A lady by the name of Elspeth. That's the innkeeper's daughter, or the barkeeper's daughter.
I can't really help it. It's not my choice.
It's through, you know, if you had tried harder, they probably wouldn't be interested at all. But just like Cousin Roman, you played hard to get every step of the way, and it seems to be working. But Gator has remained loyal to his friend Bronson, even when Bronson was going through some of his own romantic issues. Gator has been there and has been a true friend every step of the way. Gator has also contributed to cleansing the well, healing the town of Colville, and generally, you know, is it fair to say Gator's been laying low, you know, working behind the scenes? I think
as much as possible, because someone has to be responsible for the underlying structure of things, and I generally let Bronson's our minister of warfare, and Solomon is our defensive strategist and anarchist, and Rosa being the chief medical officer, and Zinth, well, he's the janitor.
Yeah. Well, he's like the janitor with sweet ninja skills, right?
Yeah.
Gator has done a great job of coordinating the rest of the group without them realizing that's what's happening, right? He's been the ace up the sleeve in case things really go badly. But he's done a good job of managing people and keeping everybody on the road. So although he does get on his soapbox once in a while, it just kind of goes off. He's been essential to the mission here. And I don't think we've ever really determined exactly what his backstory has been. You know, was he a naval man? Was he a bit of a ship's person? Can he even tie a knot? You know, I think the jury is still out on exactly what his abilities are, his nautical abilities. And the only person who could even speak to that was Oscar the Grouch, is dead, right? He died in a fire. So the truth dies with him, I guess.
He absolutely needs to refer to himself as a naval man and a ship's person. Because just no accurate sailing terms ever.
And also, like, my knot tying ability can never be questioned because I have prestidigitation. So all I have to do is kind of like twiddle my fingers over a rope and make it look like I'm tying it.
Mm-hmm.
Look, check it out. Sheepshank.
The master of illusion that is Gator, who's been projecting this aura of a very large, very muscular Hemsworth-looking individual for months now without being detected. And actually, there was only one person who detected that this was a bit of a ruse, and that was Elspeth inside of Colville, because she was also putting up a bit of a ruse. And, you know,
well, the other thing is when you get so close, examination sort of breaks the illusion.
That's true. And she was getting awful close, but I think it was more a situation of game recognizing game, you know?
This is true. Real saw real.
I like to think we all know, and like we're just like, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of Gator.
It's like he's wearing a toupee, but nobody can talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a hair system. Just let him have this.
I like the description that like you called it like I put on a Hemsworth, but I like to think on the inside I'm much more like Dana Carvey.
Accurate. That's pretty accurate.
Small and wiry and just really hyper on the inside. Not gonna do it.
He's number one in our hearts and number one on the dice.
You know, in the town of Timberclash, you may have found your new calling as a ring manager, right? This is what Gator's been doing all along, is making sure that people are in the right places to do what they do best. And that continued at Fight Night, where Gator, after communicating with the referee and strategically placing weapons where they needed to be, turned Zinthral's debut match into match of the night, right? A real show stealer. It led to Zinthral getting promoted right away. Now, whether or not Gator has anything to do with the injury that Zinthral's opinion or his opponent had, that can only be speculated, right? Unconfirmed. But if that were the case, you know, so be it. It's worse things could happen.
No one could be for sure if I was the one that pulled the scissor board out from under the ring, but it appeared suddenly and it got used. That's not on me.
So after that night is over, Gator realizes he's got a lot of time on his hands. This is going to take a while. So he does what any wizard would do, any true wizard, is he decides he needs some knowledge, right? He needs to get back to the arcane arts and try to improve on his abilities. As a international man of travel now, he's been able to go some places and see some things. He's been able to learn from the different cultures and the different magic users of each town. So it's time to find some folks inside the bustling city of Timberclash and see what he can learn and maybe pick up a few new skills. So specifically, he finds a magic store called the Inner Circle. And he's greeted as he walks in with a flash of fire. Purely decorative, but catchy, right?
And he hits the deck like Eric Young. And then he gets back up all timid.
And you meet the in-store wizard, a man by the name of Judah. And Gator and Judah go back and forth, making references to things that nobody understands, and talking about things that only wizards know about. But they are speaking a language that lets them know that they're among their own people at this point, right?
Snap, snap, grin, grin, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more.
So Gator and Judah, you start talking about some things, and tell the group what kind of things specifically Gator was really curious about.
Well, he's been toting around this weird little rock that he's been attempting here and there during rest periods to glean some knowledge, but none of his books seem to hold anything, and he's never encountered anything like this in his passing studies and experiences. So, hey there, now that we've come to more friendly terms, I wonder if you can maybe tell me what this is. And I keep it like secure in my hand and hold on to it as if I'm like, I don't know if I want you to exactly handle this because I don't know what it is.
So the conversation's going really well, and at this point Judah closes the store. He flips the sign around. He invites you into the back room where you start sharing a bottle of absinthe, and he starts opening up to you about the intricacies of magicite, because most normies don't understand. They don't speak, magic speak. But he's more than happy and excited to talk to somebody who fully understands it, because he's been seeing the same thing. And he's been keeping it to himself. So he tells you about magicite. He says, He tells you in so many words that magicite is a concentration of magical energy forged into a stone. Specifically, it's a concentration of dark energy that, if left unchecked, can lead to some awful things. He's seen some large magicite stones, larger than the one that you're showing him, and they just give him a very uncomfortable feeling that magically things are going to go wrong. So he's kept his distance. However, he has experimented a little bit with some smaller stones, and he asked Gator, what he knows about necromancy.
Well, real quick, first of all, you said we're drinking the Green Fairy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I just want to, so Gator, knowing the power of that stuff, just, tries his best to hold his composure and doesn't want to let anything slip absent-mindedly. And he says, well, I have the working knowledge of necromancy from my basic studies, but I didn't skew in that direction. I took another way. So, as far as a specialty goes, I know next to nothing.
So he tells you if you could find a way to attune yourself to magicite, that you could harness the power of necromancy. It's not something that is acceptable per se, but between friends, there's nothing wrong with experimenting a little bit, dabble with the dark arts. It never really hurt anybody. Everybody had that phase in college. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a way to attune magicite to you, and says that you guys should get together again sometime and just workshop the idea. If you come up with anything new, you should work together. And you take him up on that offer. In the coming weeks, you keep your eye out for ways that you can make this work. And one such opportunity presents itself to you inside a gambling den inside of Timber Clash. You find yourself involved in a high-stake game of cards. Master of illusion that you are, you don't even have to rely on sleight of hand to cheat. You can cheat through the power of illusion, and most of these folks inside this gambling den are none the wiser. Eventually, you find yourself at a game with one of the owners of the mines of the region. This is somebody. How do I describe him? He's an older guy. He's overweight. He's bald on top with a ponytail on the skullet in the back, right? He wears a bad suit, and he's way too many rings on his fingers. One particular ring Gator notices has a magicite stone set in it. So Gator, you convince the man that he should bet that ring in a card game. And what does Gator put up as collateral against the ring? He wagers the Celtigar ship. The entire ship versus the magicite ring.
Even I couldn't believe that one.
Well, Gator has no intention of actually paying up on that bet. And fully intends on using the power of illusion to win the hand. And he does so.
Yes.
So Gator's able to expertly pull off this trick, which forces your opponent to muck his cards. You don't know if you would have won had you not cheated to win. But it doesn't matter because he parts way with the ring, slides it over to you, and at that point, Gator packs up his things and heads out. In the following days, Gator attunes himself to the ring, and through this practice, gains the ability to focus spells through it. He learns a few new spells, and why don't you share with the group what those spells are? Some of them are tied to your magical ability, and at least one of them is tied directly to this magic item.
Yeah, well, so I think the party is probably most interested to learn what did their arcane arsenal pick up for 4th level spells. I got
That's
some
right.
good ones. I picked Conjure Minor Elemental. So that's going to let me, depending, what our needs are, I could summon either 1 elemental of any kind up to challenge rating 2, which if you look in enough books, there's some decent stuff for single summon. You can also summon like up to 8 like quarter challenge rating creatures, which is like mephits and stuff like that. Really annoying. So that like good for like a swarm, kind of like probably get like some advantage with that or something. But I also took Phantasmal Killer, which is an illusion spell, and that's going to it acts as a frightening effect, but you also the save determines whether or not you take a lot of psychic damage too. More importantly, as I tapped into this, the dark power of Magicite, I gained an ability which I came to call the Baleful Eye, and it's equivalent to the, well, I don't know how many of you have played like magic users before. I'm thinking Solomon probably has, but the 1st level spell Cause Fear, I can cast at 3rd level, which targets up to 3 creatures within 30 feet of each other at a distance of 60 feet, and with a simple verbal component, since I'm only wearing the ring as a focus, really, I can cause fear and basically force will saves, or they are frightened for duration.
And how often can you use that spell?
Once per long rest.
Yes. So, at the end of this month, Gator earns 350 gold pieces between working as a ring manager and through his gambling hobby, and has picked up that Magicite ring. The
Beauty.
what do you call it? The diamond ring. I forget what MJF calls his ring.
No, I don't.
Some kind of thing. It's a ring. It's a big, bulky, square ring with a magicite stone set in on top of it.
Could it be the ring from Ace Ventura? Could it be the 1980 whatever Super Bowl ring?
Yeah, it's missing one tiny
stone ring. My bad.
Sure, absolutely.
Finkel and Einhorn. Go on.
Okay, so that's going to bring us full circle here to Bronson of House Celtigar.
Woo!
And Bronson's story goes way back to the beginning, where he saved Gator from certain death in a bar fight, took him under his wing. But even before that, the long story of Bronson is the story of somebody who has been exiled from the family because of really nothing more than the color of his skin. Right? He fell in love with a noble woman, was exiled because of the love child that was born out of it, and he was sent away. Now, since leaving House Celtigar and heading out on his own, the house has fallen into complete disarray, with the leaders of the house either being killed, financially ruined, or imprisoned. And the cousins being scattered among the territories, forced into nefarious professions, smuggling illicit goods, and doing all sorts of manner of things in order to keep things going. They're all super nice guys, though, right? Bronson finds his way into Lucha Lucha Town with Gator, because why not? And that's when they set their eyes on this upstart young talent by the name of Zinthral, with the opportunity to coach him on the King's Road and bring him to what they are hoping is the World Championship. I don't know at this point if Bronson really had the intention of joining the King's Road at that time, but when Solomon offered to forge an additional license for Bronson to join the King's Road, it just seemed like the right thing to do.
Yeah, it just clicked.
There's going to be 2 winners this year. They can both be young lions. Why not? So from that point on, Bronson and Zinthral have been, 1A and 1B, both forging their way as contenders on the King's Road. There's been a bit of rivalry, especially when they were in Colville. This rivalry really came to a head where they had ascended Slab Mountain, and Bronson didn't perform as well as he would have liked to, and Zinthral was there to witness the whole thing. And although Zinthral hasn't shared that experience with anybody, just the idea that Bronson knows that Zinthral witnessed it burns him up inside. It's like Zinthral knows a secret about Bronson that nobody else knows.
Well, he also was the one that lied about it to Mr. Foley to get me an extra shot. He was trying to bend the rules when Bronson knew what was going. He knew the score. He was willing to stay there until he dealt with it proper. And so Bronson kind of felt robbed of legitimacy there.
That's the funny thing about this story is that Bronson has always tried to do the right thing by his code of honor, right? He has so much to prove to regain the respect of his house. And Zinthral has been trying to help him do that in all the wrong ways. Doesn't realize that his help is, while short term it would get Bronson the result he's looking for, it also would mean that it's not done the way that Bronson wants it to be done. So they are 2 good people who just don't agree on what's the right way to do the right thing,
Unless it's punching faces, and then we both are pretty in agreement there.
You guys bond every time there is a common enemy. All of a sudden, there's this bromance between the 2 of you, and it's you hold him, I'll hit him, that sort of situation, and it's worked really well. You guys complement each other in battle, and then outside of battle, you guys can't seem to get out of each other's way. So that has continued through Lucha Lucha Town, into Colville, into the brawl inside the box of Iron Vale, and now that brings us down into Timber Clash, where here we are again, Zinthral impressing the judges and getting the rocket push up the card, and Bronson having to pay his dues. Bronson wants to do it the right way, doesn't want to cheat, and things just keep coming easily to Zinthral. Maybe with Zinthral, maybe he is the phenom. Maybe it's God-given, and maybe if he worked as hard as Bronson did, he could achieve so much more. But Bronson, through what's the term? To sweat equity is
Yeah.
you know, put in the time to get where he is and has earned every bit of it, which I think bolsters his confidence along the way.
Yep.
So that has brought us all the way up to the point where we're at fight night, and every step of the way with Bronson, it's really been he's sacrificed so much. His family, the ability to see his child, his connection with his own father. You know, this whole quest has been to prove that he is worthy of the title of Celtigar. Not that's almost more important than the title of world champion in his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately after fight night, Jin Coronado goes to Bronson and tells him, you know, there's no room on the card.
Creative has nothing for you.
Creative has nothing for you. There's two big guys who are taking up your spot on the roster. You've got Baron Business and you've got Winston Tact, who are, they're heavies, right? There's no need to have three heavies right now when they're working a program together. So it's going to take a little bit of time. Bronson needs to exercise patience, and eventually it'll be his time to step up. So Bronson hears all this, and the gears start turning in his head. We don't need you right now. You can come and put the ring together, but you can't wrestle. So Bronson asks a fair question. He says, can you hold my position for a few weeks while I go take care of some family matters? And Jane Coronado says, oh, of course. Of course, the show will still be here when you come back. So what does Bronson do? Give us an idea of what his immediate thoughts are.
Yeah, this sort of coincides with the reappearance of a couple more cousins.
That's right. So messages were sent up to Colville for friends of the party, Big Varro and Franco Celtigar, to head on down to Timber Clash and to reunite all of the Celtigar cousins. And shortly after fight night, Big Varro and Franco do come rolling into town, and shenanigans ensue, right? So tell us about what happens once you've got the whole clique is back together.
So everybody is there. We're all sort of hanging around on the ship, or on the docks. I've got weeks to kill. Everybody seems busy with their own stuff. And so it occurs to Bronson that everybody's back together. It's time to get back to the Celtigar family manor and reclaim it for our family. Everything has fallen apart. It's been basically given over to the next, to the high bidder at an estate sale, who has then, inherited all of our taxing, our tax privileges and liege, houses and stuff like that. So the plan is that there's never going to be a better time to do this, and that it's time that we reassert the Celtigar name in Territory 1.
So that's the plan that's floated out to House Celtigar. And just a refresher, that includes Bronson, Big Varro, Franco, the Young Celts, Maris and Orin, and Grady, the silent but beautiful one. The other 6 members of the ship are not, in fact, Celtigars, but they promise to maintain the ship while you're gone and to stay out of trouble. Gus is, of course, left in charge. Good old Gus.
Gus is an honorary Celtigar.
But the only way to get from your current district, which is District 4, I believe, to District 1 and back in time is not through traditional means of travel. It's not through ship. The Risky Rabbit fast travel portal is off limits. That only leaves, rail travel is out of the question because it's a different.
Right. It's across the ocean.
That's right. So that leaves the only option is travel via airship. So pulling together the resources from the Celtigars, although the airship travel is expensive, it's totally manageable, and that money will be recouped once the House Celtigar retakes the lordship in Territory 1. So the 6 of you, plus whatever other hired hands you can find.
Yeah. So one of the things that we will have done while we're trying to get passage and everything like that, I've had Varro and Franco sort of like put some feelers out and sort of get word on whether or not the general population, lesser lords, lesser nobles, whether or not they would be receptive to House Celtigar rising back to its rightful state, and whether or not they would back our play. And so hopefully we've got some good responses from them, or at least we're banking on their honesty and their replies. But we think that we've got at least a pretty standard or a pretty sizable group that would back us in that play.
Sure, there still are nobles who are loyal to House Celtigar. It hasn't been that long since the Celtigar family were running these lands, and they don't necessarily agree with the new ownership. So you're able to amass a decent following of some of your former contacts and some disgruntled lords in the area. The ones who are completely loyal are convinced to stand down, while the Celtigar gang or army or squad or whatever you want to call yourselves, while you retake House Celtigar. And let's see, strategy has not been the strong suit of the Celtigars at any point in history. So the plan is to retake the manor through brute force, the Bronson way. And that's exactly what's done. Bronson approaches the gates and just, kicks right through the front door. Daddy's home. It's time to overthrow the current occupants of Celtigar Manor. And
so we will give them a chance to bounce with whatever possessions they can gather, and head out of our ancestral home that we lived in for possibly 1,000 years.
Yeah, it's shockingly easier than you thought it would be. Most individuals willingly left, because this fully armed force has invaded with, good cause. There is a rightful claim to these lands from House Celtigar. And while there are no statues of Bronson or Big Varro anywhere to be seen, there are statues of your ancestors and tapestries and carvings of Celtigars everywhere in these lands. So those that resist are dealt with swiftly and brutally. And those that are willing to negotiate are given the opportunity to do so. And that only leaves one decision to be made, Bronson. Who do you leave in charge of the Celtigar Manor and House Celtigar while Bronson continues on the King's Road?
So, I've got another major piece of business that I need to attend to. But now I'm comfortable knowing that my family is back in their home. Hopefully we can get our merchant routes reestablished and start building back our family name. And so I'm gonna leave Grady as our regent, cause I think he's the most patient and probably intelligent out of the group in terms of decision making. So yeah, until I've let them know that I have an orphaned son out there at the Capitol, and I'm not willing to like just ride on the Capitol with a small army, or I guess what would be, but probably a team. So what I want them to do is I want everybody everybody needs to get their acts together. This is our opportunity to undo all the mistakes that our grandfather made, and dictate the next 1,000 years of Celtigar, prosperity in the area. And so the plan is that I will be back with my son, and then we're gonna go from there about really trying to set House Celtigar with some future plans and some growth opportunities.
The young Celts also decide to stay with Grady. Just doesn't feel right to separate from him.
Mm-hmm.
So that they offer to be his trusted advisors so he's not the only
EVPs.
Yeah, I mean, they are blood, right? And even if Grady can't trust anybody else, he can trust the young Celts. But along that same line of trust, there are advisors that have been there the whole time. These are men who cannot fight, but they know the history, they know the land, they know economics. And some of the conversations that they bring up to Grady as you're leaving, Bronson, although they don't concern you very much, this is Grady's role now. They approach Grady with the questions of, well, what do we do about the illness that's going around? What do we do about the crops? What do we do about the people? So it appears the Slamdemic has reached Territory 1 as well. But that's a problem for another day, as Bronson has a flight to catch. He does so. He boards with Big Varro and Franco, who head back to Timber Clash. And that's just in time for Bronson to start working on the farm. Makes his debut there and is an immediate hit, right? Bronson, just this monster, this stunning look, the green skin, which is unique. It's not entirely unheard of, but it is unique. It's a look, it's a gimmick. And while at this low level of competition, you really just need to be yourself. You can decide later on what your actual gimmick is going to be, but
basically it's the same thing that I've been working with up until this point, even in the real fights, where it's like it's got that huge lion skin, with the face as the hood, and just larger than life and meaner than shit. I mean, like, he's Bronson, even though it's a show, he doesn't really have to do anything except for pull his punches. Everything else is basically the same, just without Rosa bitching at him.
So the slot that you've taken is the slot that was formerly occupied by Winston Tact, who has moved on to join the Grapplemania show and now has a full faction under him by the name of the Game Changers. Baron Business, who you're going to be working a program with now, is working to get into the Game Changers, but Winston Tact has creative differences with Baron Business, finds him to be incredibly boring, and too political for his own tastes. You don't mind at all. You just want to fight people. And
yeah, just trying to put on a show.
Through your own feats of strength and athletic prowess, you're able to win the crowd over much faster than Baron Business ever could. And after just 2 shows, Bronson gets the call up to Grapplemania. So, prior to your debut match, which will be against Winston Tact, your head of creative, Dane Caruso, asks you, what gimmick are we going to go with here? How are we going to sell you to this audience? With Zinthral, he became the man of masks. With Bronson, is there a new moniker? Is there a persona you're going to go under? Is there anything he can do for you to make you a bigger star?
I just want to go by my official title now. So like, and maybe with a little bit of flourish. I think I want to be the Lion Lord.
Okay.
Bronson Celtigar.
Okay, right on. So that's what we go with, and in your very first match, you're booked against Winston Tact, and Dane Caruso has the brilliant idea of Bronson cheating to win the match. You don't like this idea. You don't like this idea at all, because Bronson doesn't cheat, right? He does everything
don't have to, right?
the right way. So it's a moral dilemma for the character. And what do you settle on between you and Winston Tact? How do you two decide the match is going to go?
I mean, I'll go based off of how it's booked. If they want me to cheat, I really like my astral tassels, and I would love for like the ref, or better yet, having like Gator distract the ref, and then all of a sudden just the astral chair appears in over my head, just boom, headshot right there.
Perfect. So
covering for the 1, 2, 3 on that.
So with that, Bronson delivers the unprotected headshot into Winston Tact's head, and he's pancaked, right? You cover him for the quick 1, 2, 3. The crowd is irate. They are not happy about this at all. Gator is losing his mind. It's good entertainment. It's great, and that's all that really matters at this stage. Zinthral, it's his big night. He's challenging for his badge tonight, and he's going against the half-dragon, Daniel Danielson, for the badge. I liked him better when he was Brian. Such a big night for Zinthral, and of course, as we said earlier, Zinthral, he puts on a 60-minute banger with Daniel Danielson, and he ends out coming out on top, just completely wrecked, wearing the damage the whole way. Still has the mask on, right? The Raven mask. He has copied every finishing move from every wrestler that he's fought leading up to this point before winning this match, and which will be his last match wrestling for Grapplemania. And then he gets to wait for Bronson, right, to support him, be in his corner the whole way. However, he doesn't get the opportunity to do that. After going backstage, there's a little bit of celebration between Zinthral and the Young Lions. There's some good-hearted ribbing between the veterans and between Zinthral. There may be a bit of a tradition after someone wins their badge where they get the champagne poured on them, or as you said before, maybe somebody drops a deuce in his gym bag. Whatever the local custom is, we can workshop that.
Por que no los dos?
Some of the folks backstage are not entirely happy about the push that he's gotten. Some of them think that Daniel Danielson should have won the match, that he should have got the push. But there are reasons that Dane Caruso retains some people longer than he needs to. And his creative thinking has been questioned many, many times. So Zinthral happens to be the beneficiary of some poor booking, maybe. Or may just have this sweetheart story that resonates with the crowd. Or maybe he's just lucky again, you know? It doesn't really matter. But after leaving the arena, the Young Lions, you go to reconnect, where you always reunite back at the ship, the SS Celtigar. Rosa's there. Gator's there. Solomon's cousin Roman is there. Bronson, you're there. Zinthral doesn't show up. There's no sign of Zinthral. Maybe he's just partying too hard, right? Or maybe he's up to some rebellious activities. But he doesn't come home. The next morning you wake up on the ship. Zinthral's still not there. You start to get a little concerned. You start to ask around. You head back to the last place that you saw him, the D&DCW arena. And laying out front of the arena in a bloody pool is Zinthral. Still alive, mind you, after a little bit of medical attention, but missing his right arm from the elbow down.
Yikes.
And that's where we're going to leave the session for tonight.
My boy! Look what they did to my boy!
So that's been quite a bit of character development for 1 week.
Yeah, for real.
Gator, that sound button was for you, buddy.
Thank you.
So what did we learn this week? We learned that Zinthral is a rebellious figure who is minus one arm. We learned
Zinthral's going to be drumming for Def Leppard.
That's right. We learned that Rosa is an alchemist now. We learned that Cousin Roman has body snatched Solomon Scribbles and is now a prospecting member of the Hardway, who is starting wars between factions. We learned that Gator is now dabbling in the dark arts, and also a bit of a gambler. And we've learned that House Celtigar has returned to prominence, and the Lion Lord Bronson Celtigar is about to take over Grapplemania. So that's going to be it for me tonight. I've been your DM, Saucey, and they've been the Young Lions. Say goodbye, Young Lions.
Goodbye,
Goodbye, Young Lions.
Au revoir.
Hey, congratulations. If you're still listening, that means you made it to the end of the episode. Thanks for coming by and listening to this edition of Kings Road Young Lions. If you like what you've heard, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave a comment down below of what you'd like to see on the next episode. For more great content from This Is Awesome Promotions, check out the YouTube channel, check out the Twitch channel, check us out on Twitter at TIA Promotions. Thanks again for coming around, and we'll see you next time down on the King's Road.